Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. I hope you've all been having a great day. I hope you also all had a happy holiday no matter what you celebrate. I hope it was a good one. Decided to take a little bit of time off to give your feed some needed rest and let you guys have just a teeny break from me for a little bit. Considering we are a week out from 2026, I just want to discuss what our 2026 New Year's resolutions are for gaming in the 2026 year. I want to discuss what it is we are thinking about for our resolutions. Now, I know everybody makes resolutions, or maybe it's that thing that you did in school and your teacher told you needed to do it, or your parents told you needed to do it, and you never really wanted to, and it was just something you did to appease them. And now, as an adult, you're thinking about it and you're like, maybe this is something I should do because my life is getting more hectic daily, and it kind of feels like something that could be really useful. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and give you my top 2026 gaming resolutions. Feel free to comment yours below. I would love to know what your plans are for gaming this next year and what you're thinking about that you want to work on and be better in the new year. And it doesn't even have to be gaming. It can just be something that you want to share. So I think the first thing that every gamer thinks about at the beginning of each year is their backlog. And the backlog is often seen as kind of a wall of shame or a collection of things that I had or I bought, and something that just kind of sits there and mocks you because it's all these games that you should play at some point because you have interest in it and you bought it with the intent to play it, but for some reason or another you never got around to it, you never felt like starting it, and it kind of sits there and just is a reminder of that callous purchase that you made that you really didn't need to make in that moment, but you did. In 2025, for me personally, I made a lot of big strides in my personal backlog. I played through 2 Dragon Quest games all the way through, minus an epilogue or 2, so I still actually need to go back and do those. But as far as the main stories in both of them, I finished those. I'd still like to go back at some point and do some of the side stuff, but it felt really good to get 2 giant RPGs out of the backlog. I also managed to get through a bunch of indie games like Hollow Knight, and I even managed to sneak in a few brand new games as well, like Shinobi Art of Vengeance. So I really had a good mix of stuff that, even though there was some new stuff in there, I managed to actually make quite a bit of headway on my backlog in 2025. So I'd really like to focus my attention towards the backlog to really fine-tune some of those bigger experiences that maybe I haven't cleaned up in the years prior. Things like The Witcher 3, Baldur's Gate 3, some older RPGs that I never got around to finishing up. For me, actually, I anticipate a lot of 2026 to be RPGs for me because there's just a list of RPGs that I have yet to beat, and there are so many that I'd like to get to that I just haven't had the time. And although 2026 is probably going to be my busiest personal life year yet, I really intend to make some time for myself to really hammer down those RPGs. We're going to move on from the backlog, but of course that's something that'll kind of permeate throughout the rest of the list because everything at some point will probably get moved to the backlog for at least a little bit of time if it's something you don't finish right away. So another resolution of mine is to try different genres of games that I wouldn't otherwise play. Now, I know that's kind of a daunting task for a lot of gamers. A lot of us have our comfort games, our games that we're really used to playing, our games that we kind of huddle back to when times are tough or when we need a break from things. We kind of have those games that we just know how they work, we know how they function, and those are what we play when we want to escape. But as I've been playing through my backlog this year, I've noticed that there are aspects of games that I really appreciate that certain games work in from other genres. And I've realized it might be worth branching out to some of these different genres that I've personally never played. For me, one that I'm really thinking about reaching out to is dungeon crawlers. I've really never played outside of, I guess if you count Souls games, dungeon crawlers. Like I've never really played any, specifically like first-person dungeon crawlers. The closest thing you could say, I guess, would be Shin Megami or Dragon Quest. But I enjoy those JRPGs a lot, and I'm starting to realize that JRPGs and dungeon crawlers have a very storied history. So I'm really thinking about delving into some of those first-person dungeon crawlers and giving some of those a go. So what I'm urging or recommending, I guess, for you guys to try is to find a genre that really maybe doesn't click with you or has some crossover with something else that you really like, and try giving it a go. Maybe it's a fighting game, maybe it's an action game, maybe it's an RPG, maybe it's a racing game, maybe it's a sports game. There might be something out there that you would really, really love that you would have never known you would have loved had you not branched out. Moving on from that, the third thing that I'm really considering doing this year is starting a gaming journal. Now, I know that might sound kind of strange, but I've noticed that as I get older, my memory and my things that I try to keep track of in a game start to slip more and more. And even though games oftentimes come with objective markers and the yellow paint, of course, thanks to people like Darkside Phil, I just do not have time to sit and remember all the feelings and experiences that I have during those playthroughs. So what I'd like to do maybe is, as I play, either keep a journal next to me or when I am done, kind of jot down how I felt about my play session. Or maybe it's just keeping a personal log of things that I want to do in the game, the current objectives that I have, the current achievements I've made in the game up to this point, questions that I have about the story, things like that. I think in one aspect of this, it'll actually give me more engagement with the game, especially RPGs, because it's actually engaging my brain with the setting, the world, and the aesthetic of the game. And then in another sense, it's also actively engaging with the mechanics in the world in ways that maybe the developer didn't intend, but it's getting the brain working without having to follow the yellow paint. So I think in a lot of ways it's a way to see some of these games that we play in a bit of a different light, and also try them at different turns than we might otherwise. Similar to how some games have the option to turn off a HUD or to find a way to immerse yourself more in the game, I think this also gives you an ability to immerse yourself more in a way than you did before. So I'm interested to see how this works out. I will be trying it and letting you guys know. Fourth and finally for me, I think the last thing that I really want to try and do in 2026 is to not try and buy as many new games. Now, I know that's kind of easier said than done, but there are often times where, you'll Google a game, you'll find out that, oh, well, you can get the game for 20% off through Green Man Gaming or CD Keys or whatever site, and it becomes really possible to just pick up a game because it's on sale. And honestly, even though that's tempting, and oftentimes you want to be a part of the conversation, I really don't want to buy a game just because it's on sale or buy a game just because I have a passing interest in it. I really want to make sure that I'm giving these games my full attention and give them more thought when I actually give them my hard-earned money. I really want to make sure that these games are not only giving me a proper experience at launch, but I also want to make sure that the developer is going to stick with the experience and that they're not going to just sell me the product, have it broken at launch, and then just, let it go once it's in my hands. Oftentimes when people are complaining about brand new games, they're complaining about the brand new AAA experiences, but I really don't think we have those problems with indie games as much. However, with indie games, the other problem we kind of run into is that there are just so many that it kind of becomes hard to tell what you should play and what you shouldn't. And I really think it comes down to what does your tastes tell you? What do your interests tell you that you as a player would enjoy? Is this experience going to be worth $5 now? Is it going to give you so many hours worth of enjoyment? And I hate to put a price or a hour to price ratio on things, but when we're talking about so many games releasing at such a rapid pace, I think it's kind of understandable that at some point you have to start categorizing these things. The other thing too is we have to talk about the fact that games have gotten more expensive, and even though indie games oftentimes are still about the same price, somewhere between $5 to $40 roughly, AAA experiences are no longer in the $60 to $50 range. We're talking about games that are $70 to almost $80 for the standard experience. My hard rule of thumb whenever it comes to buying a game is I will not buy a game unless it is on sale. I just have way too many games in my backlog, and I don't need to play a game so much that I can't afford to wait for it to be on sale. So I refuse to pay full price for pretty much any game unless it is a developer that I am specifically supporting because either their games don't sell well and it's a series that I'm a big fan of, like Silent Hill. Or if it is a scenario where their games just don't come to the West very often, and I really, really want to see their games released more in the West, case like Dragon Quest maybe. But outside of that, I really don't have any interest in paying full price for video games. And with that, those are my 2026 gaming resolutions. A lot of these are just based off my own personal experiences in 2025 and things that I want to do better in 2026. So yeah, I would love to hear what you guys think and what your guys' plans are for the new year. Are these things that you guys want to work on? Are these things that you guys also share an interest in wanting to do better on? Or are there different things that maybe I didn't think about that you guys want to do better on as well? Please sound off in the comments below. Again, hope you guys all had a great holiday. Please stay safe during the new year, and yeah, we'll talk again in the next video. Stay safe, everyone.